Screonk, a Godzilla movie marathon where we're stomping through Godzilla's filmography. I'm Derek, and I've seen all the Godzilla movies.
And I'm Doug, and I've seen 23 Godzilla movies.
Ooh, and we're talking about the 10th ever film in the Godzilla series. The first Godzilla film to utilize a significant amount of stock footage, and the film all about children learning how to deal with bullying. All monsters attack. Also known as Gojira Minira Gabara Oru Kaiju Daishingeki, which literally translates to Godzilla Manila Gabara all monsters attack in Japanese.
Oh.
And known in America as Godzilla's Revenge.
Okay.
Two perfect titles for a perfect movie. This movie was released in Japan on December 20th, 1969, directed by Ishirō Honda, with special effects by also Ishirō Honda, with assistance by Toruyoshi Nakano, written by Shinichi Sekizawa, produced by Tomoyuki Tanaka, and a score by Kunio Miyauchi. We'd like to take a quick moment to thank our spectacular patrons, Bo, Carl, Katie, Jason, Zoe, James, Keith, Cody, Toby, Hamish, Blake, Jace, Jojak, David, and Russ.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And today we have a guest for this very special movie. It is the co-creator and sometimes host of the Novel Gaming Podcast, Vicki.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Vicki.
Hello. So happy to have you here.
I am so thrilled to be here. Thanks, guys.
Yes. Yes. Vicki, I remember when we were, working out like scheduling stuff for this podcast and picking up potential guests and things. Doug was like, I'm pretty sure Vicki really likes Godzilla movies. And, knowing you mostly through the podcast and like kind of tangentially around that, but not like one-on-one. I was like, I never would have guessed that Vicki would be into Godzilla. No, truly, honestly.
We've never talked about it on Novel Gaming.
Yeah.
And what's funny is when I was talking to Derek about it, I was like, wait a second, like I've forgotten this because it's not like Vicki and I talk much about Godzilla, and I wasn't watching Godzilla movies, so I wouldn't have had a reason to bring it up, and you wouldn't have had a reason to bring it up to me. Yeah. And I was like, wait a second, I'm remembering Vicki's very into Godzilla, but we've never really talked about it that much.
And like, I guess I can see how it makes sense. Like I can connect the dots with other things that I know you've been like. You're the God of War person, right? Like, you're super into God of War. So like,
I know. I can see these things. Yeah.
Yeah, I can connect the dots, but it still was sort of like, oh, okay, we've got to get her on. And then even more surprising when Doug came back after like reaching out, was sort of like, yeah, she's really into like Manila. It's like, okay, this is perfect. So what is your history with Godzilla?
Yeah.
And this movie is especially.
Oh, good. I have like props to show you too. I know, this is an audio experience, but it goes way back. So Godzilla was a thing that I share with my dad. Growing up at our old house, we would do like Friday night movie nights, and I was little. So this is like 5, 6, as a little girl. And we would watch a Godzilla movie, whatever was showing on whatever channel at the time. So that was like our thing. This movie in particular is one, like I remember Godzilla. I remember liking Godzilla and the Atomic Breath, but like this one with the bullies. And honestly, we're going to talk a lot about it, but like this might be why I am the way I am at times, like how I respond to like things and people. So that was kind of like the history. And I think I have liked and loved Godzilla in pockets of time in my life. So, I watched it with my dad. We moved, we stopped doing movie nights, totally fine. And then in middle school, high school, I had a friend who was into Godzilla, so kind of resurgent. So this is where the props come in. So in 2001, with my dad again, because we were, so I think this was like end of middle school, early high school. I went to G-Fest, Godzilla Fest.
Oh my God.
Oh, Vicki.
So we
Dude.
Vicki lore.
Yes, and I saved the program because I'm a weirdo. So it was, we just missed the one from 2025, but it was in July. We went to movie screenings. They were dubbed. I fell asleep a couple times because I was tired, but we did that. I saw the world record attempt for largest Godzilla inflatables in one location. I think there were 5. We watched from the hotel window. Still fun. I don't know if they actually won. And then the giveaway, or like when you walked into the exhibitor hall, you like got a little blind box. So this is my giveaway, and it's a little Manila. So,
that's incredible luck.
And I know. It's like a bottle cap, so I don't use it this way. But
those are like big things with like Japan. Like I have a Kamen Rider Zeo like bottle cap one too. Like that's just a thing.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
yeah, that's hilarious.
Good to know.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So that's kind of I guess my most recent Godzilla, and then I've just been like a casual enjoyer since then, and that's probably why it just hasn't come up, because it's like if it's on, I'll watch it, but I've not like I see all the new ones, but I've not like gotten into the old Japanese ones in a while.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's really cool that like this one especially that you have such an attachment to, like, because there's, you know, I think Godzilla is one of those franchises where like you can be into Godzilla and not watch all of the movies because there are a lot of them spanning a long period of time, and I think they're all very different, so you might have an attachment to like one movie out of, you know, almost 40 of them that is the one that really speaks to you, and I just love that this is the one.
Yeah, and like, you know, my parents were visiting this weekend, and I was like, Dad, we got to watch a movie together. And so I got to watch this movie with my dad this weekend, which was a really special and fun thing. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to spend time with my dad in that way.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
And I'm just curious, just for context, because this is one of those things that I don't want to call it controversial, but can be divisive. Do you like to call him Minya or Manila? Because we can go either way.
I will kind of be fluent in both. I like to call him Minya.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Minya, I must have heard, I was trying to think. So I like watched this movie when I was little. So I had to have listened to people talking in English to like understand what was going on. So I think Minya is probably where I default to, but happy to do whatever.
I go back.
We just follow the ghost.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Minya.
I feel like I go back and forth with it too, honestly, because Minya is like a really pretty name. It kind of rolls off the tongue really nicely, so I get it. What now? You know, obviously growing up, kids always watch these movies like on TV in the dubs. This time, did you watch the dub version or did you watch it in Japanese this time?
We did watch it in Japanese, much to the chagrin of my dad, who was like, really, like, I mean, it was just a long weekend. I mean, it's a very short film, so it was fine. But that was what was readily available to us. And I'm glad I did, because I love some of the language that they use. It's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, so fun. Okay. We're going to have so much to talk about with this movie. But Doug, this is your first time seeing it. What do you, I mean, I can't imagine you could have predicted what this movie is.
No, no. Even having seen like half a sentence of the description, I couldn't have expected this. I figured it had something to do with Minya, and I knew it had something to do with bullying, but I could never in a million years have predicted that it's about a kid who's like using like Minya stories to help him stand up to his bullies. Like, and so the monster stuff is like arguably not even happening, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no way I could have predicted this. But I actually, you know, I don't necessarily always love how it's executing things, but that's more a product of like where the movies are at this point. But I actually, there's like an idea in here that I think is actually like extremely cool. And it kind of makes sense that at a certain point in a franchise that's now on its 10th movie that they might try to do something like this. So it's a fascinating movie. And I never, not in a million years could I have predicted.
Oh, sure. No, I agree with you. And I mean, you know, we'll get into the production stuff and everything, but like, I think that this one is interesting, especially if you know, want to do any cursory reading or research of any kind on it. Even if you're not like into the fandom or whatever, the barest amount of reading about this, like the big thing about this movie is that there is a certain type of person that exists that has a very loud voice. Let's call them straight men. And they hate this movie. Like this is very widely, like, if a lot of, you know, online spaces and like many of the books that I have that I'll reference my research, like it is very prominently being like, yeah, but everyone knows this is like the one that is the worst Godzilla movie, right? Like most people consider this to be the worst one, and they'll list off a bunch of reasons.
Don't think that's fair.
No.
I don't think it's fair either. And I have a lot of bones to pick with many things. Cause a lot of it usually just sort of like, it's about a child. It's all kind of fake in a dream, and it uses a lot of stock footage. And those are the main reasons that people just like, are sort of like, yeah, this movie's garbage, throw it in the trash, worst, like worthless kind of thing. And I mean, I have issues with all of those points. But I also think that like what's interesting too is that there's also, because there's been so much hate towards this movie for, 50, 60 years at this point, I think that the people who are fans of this movie that are active in online spaces and are aware of that, like, push back on that a lot harder. So this is also a movie that has a lot of really, really hardcore fans as well. And I think, Vicki, there's a lot of people like you who like grew up with this one because this movie is specifically manufactured to be for children. Yeah. And so kids who maybe have never seen a kaiju movie at all, and that would never really hit with them, this might be the one that hits with them because it is structured like a movie for children through the point of view of a child, Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of value in that and recognizing that, and like you said, Doug, it's just really a fascinating movie in so many ways. So let's start talking about the making of this movie. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to do the most like annoying influencer thing ever, because a lot of the information I pulled from this one, I got pulled from a book that I need to plug because we were sent a review copy of it.
Cool.
So Abrams Books was very kind in sending both Doug and I a copy of their massive tome, Godzilla: The First 70 Years.
It's right behind both of us.
Thing is fucking huge.
Oh my goodness.
And it is,
that's beautiful.
This is actually a thing where it was like, it's actually valuable because it is a historical book about the Toho movies that has a lot of really great information and interviews kind of condensed into it. And a lot of the historians that I've followed up to this point for the podcast, like Steve Ryfle and Ed Godziszewski, they've written other books. Like I think they worked on Honda's biography as well. They've written other books that I've been using. So like good Godzilla historians, I would highly recommend this for any Godzilla fan. It fucking rocks. And have gotten a lot of use out of it already for this podcast. So, link in description, hit like and subscribe, ring that bell. You know what I mean?
Ding.
Anyway, you can see how I don't do ad reads because it's so uncomfortable talking like that in general. I don't know how to.
It was very fun to watch you do it.
Yeah, but it is genuinely like that book rules and it's so huge. Anyway. A lot of the information that I have right now is coming from that. So Destroy All Monsters, we just did that last month, right? That was a movie before this. And we talked about in that episode that was meant to be the final Godzilla film. It was during production of that movie that Filmation, the Hollywood-based animation studio, at the time, I think their biggest property was the Archie show from Archie Comics. So like, that's what they were doing at the time. Filmation approached Toho, or connected with them to collaborate on doing a Godzilla cartoon together. At this point, there had already been like a King Kong cartoon that then was in collaboration with Toho to do King Kong Escape. So we've talked about that kind of stuff before. It's not like unheard of for an animation studio to want to use like a Japanese IP basically and bring that over into America, right? I think the intention was like they make a Godzilla cartoon and it would air on Japanese and American TV maybe that following year. And there'd be the potential for Toho to re-edit those episodes for a theatrical release so that even if they're not making live action Godzilla movies, there would still be a Godzilla film of some kind in theaters, just with like, lower stakes and not with the budget of a live action feature. So like the idea of keeping Godzilla alive in some fashion was still out there. It would just be like, we would just want to do it in a money-saving way if we continue to do this, because these movies aren't making money. That deal just collapses just as Hollywood deals do sometimes. But I think it does inspire Toho, because it's like, if this American studio was interested in it very specifically as a children's property, and we've already kind of been skewing towards children with our movies for a while anyway, like maybe there is value in still keeping Godzilla alive, but just being more strategic about directing it to children as a children's franchise rather than trying to like appeal to multi-quadrants, right? And I think also another inspiration for this going this direction, for being a very, very kid-centric movie, is that while filming Destroy All Monsters, there's this like really cool story about how Tsuburaya invited 100 children to quote unquote meet the kaiju and destroy all monsters on set. And like there's pictures you can find of it, of like Minya wearing like a grade schooler's outfit with a yellow hat and a backpack.
I love when they put Minya in clothes.
It's so good. And he like comes and like teaches them like pedestrian road safety and stuff. So it's like
amazing.
I think the wheels start turning of like Godzilla movie for kids, but with Minya as like the centerpiece. As obviously like Son of Godzilla had Minya introduced already, but like one where Minya is truly like the lead kaiju, the one you're seeing through the protagonist's eyes, and the one who sort of forms a relationship or a friendship with a child. Like I think that's all in the air, right? The other thing that is also in the air is Gamera, which is, you know, the other kind of competitor kaiju for Godzilla that a different studio is doing. That is succeeding at the time specifically by making very, very low budget children's films. Like Gamera by this point is explicitly a quote friend to all children. The movies have him teaming up with little boys in shorts and hats. The movies also heavily utilize stock footage to save money. So like Toho was looking at that and being like, we want to make a kids movie anyway. Like, why don't we just do what Gamera is doing? Gamera was invented to basically be a ripoff of Godzilla. So now we're going to be a ripoff of the ripoff of Godzilla, basically. Producer Tanaka, like, specifically asked writer Shinichi Sekizawa if he could basically do something similar to Gamera with a script based on, quote, bits and pieces of other films. And Sekizawa was like, yeah, sure. I'm a good editor. I can look at movies and see what scenes we can pull and write them into a script. Right. So he then pitches this idea for a children's fantasy that would repurpose scenes from prior films, thus requiring a low budget. So that's how we end up where we are.
Okay.
Now, the other side of it is then the direction that this movie goes story-wise. I think some of that, comes from Honda, because I think he was particularly interested on, like, if we are being asked to have a movie with a lot of monsters that we're just using stock footage for, then at the very least, we can anchor it in like a social issue at the time. And at the time, latchkey kids were a thing that was like very heavily talked about in Japanese media. Like that was a sort of new thing that that society was dealing with. I think it was just as simple as like more women were working at the time because there were rising housing costs. I think, you know, the economy was sort of a weird place at the end of the 60s. After school care is uncommon. So like it's really similar to, I think, how we remember like the 80s in America. Like a lot of Gen X talks about being raised as latchkey kids. And I think that Japan was just dealing with that just like, you know, a decade earlier. Right. So that I think was on Honda's mind. Also, there was apparently a spate of child abductions in Japan at the time.
Oh no.
Oh no.
So
I mean, I guess I could sort of see how those two things might connect.
Yeah.
Again, that's how people talk about the 80s in America too. It's like kids on bikes and also kids getting abducted. Like,
Yeah.
I think it all connects. Also, there was a very notorious, I think in 1968 when they were developing this, a very notorious armored car robbery, which was like the biggest theft in Japan's history at the time of like 30 million yen, I think.
Okay.
So then they're like, okay, latchkey kid, child abduction, bank robbers. We're just going to pull all these current events and make this children's movie with monsters out of it, basically.
What if Law and Order was for kids?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I think the last thing I think that was, on their minds that ends up being the backbone of this movie is like, because I think one of the trade-offs of like post-war recovery happening so rapidly in the 60s is that like Japan becomes way more industrialized than it had been before. So there's like way more factories popping up. They're noticing more pollution. There's a lot more traffic. There's more crime in general. It's like how we see Tokyo is like this extremely urban space. Like this is when it really becomes what that is. And I think that people had a lot of thoughts about that at the time. And it's sort of like, oh, it's great that our economy got better and we're like, you know, healing from the war, but also is life that much better than it was before? Yeah, I don't know. So, which, you know, I think results in some of the visual aesthetic of the world in this movie. So,
yeah, that all makes sense. And it's not a surprise. I was initially surprised when you said that Ishirō Honda was the director for this one. It is less surprising to hear that some of the things in this movie are specifically because he's directing this movie, like the fact that there is some sort of like relevant social issue involved, so that things make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's funny is that, okay, if you were to guess, how do you think Honda feels about this movie?
I can't imagine he liked making this movie at all.
This is like one of his favorites. He's always said this one of his favorites.
What?
Really?
Why? I mean, I like it, but I didn't expect him to like it.
Because it's like, because the thing is, I think what he didn't like about a lot of the sort of, mid-era Showa movies that he directed was that it was just like a lot of monster fights and then like a sci-fi plot or something kind of riffing on like an American franchise or something like that. This movie, I think the thing that he was attached to with it is sort of like, it's ultimately about something. Like he gets to do his social commentary and like for whatever reason, he had a lot of feelings about the idea of like latchkey kids and kids being, you know, sort of left alone to their own devices for a long time and not really having their parents around very much in their lives. I think he felt very strongly about that, and he got to make a movie about that. So he basically got to make like a real drama talking about social stuff. And then like the monster stuff just kind of got to get thrown into it, you know, like it's literally like a dream in this movie. Right. So I think that's why he liked it so much. He got to actually talk about real things in it, you know?
Yeah. I like that because I think sometimes when you listen to Ishirō Honda's comments about the movie or like the franchise as it moves forward, he can come across as just sort of like a guy who doesn't like fun or like hates silliness or like hates jokes or whatever. And I don't know that I ever necessarily believed that, but I felt like I could kind of predict his feelings on certain things. And so I like to know this because it not that I thought he hated fun or jokes, but it's nice to know that like it's contextual, right? And I think it's good for I think it's probably really good for the people online who are loudly hating this movie to know that, because I think what it illustrates is like Ishirō Honda doesn't just hate a thing that kids like. It's how that thing is delivered, right? So like he can see that this movie is for kids, but he also can see that there's an opportunity here to make a movie that feels important for kids also. Yeah.
And like, to be clear, a lot of the movies that he doesn't like I think he's being a stick in the mud about it. And I think they're great.
Sure. Totally.
But I think that like he is a complex man, and that's one reason that I love him a lot. And I just really love that he just really enjoys this movie a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the stuff, you know, when they're putting it together, obviously it's sort of a unique scenario where they are going into it very particularly intending to not film a lot of special effects stuff for this special effects movie because they know they're reusing footage. Like originally they were going to use Rodan and a giant octopus, I think specifically to use footage from movies that Honda shot. But Honda was like, if we're going to set this on Monster Island, why don't we use movies that are very much heavily focused on island stuff, right? So that's why they end up using footage from Abira and Son of Godzilla, even though Honda didn't direct that originally. Those are Fukuda movies. Honda had no issues using that. It's just sort of like they're island movies. Let's use it. It's fine. Yeah. Makes more sense. But all of this ends up leading to like, I think kind of an interesting first for these movies, because every other movie we talk about, there's a very clear distinction between the director of the human things and the director of special effects who directs the monster fights. And this is the first time where, because there were so few monsters that were going to be fighting that were newly filmed in the first place, and because it was a very small budget, it was just a small sound stage they were using, it wasn't a huge production, they just have Honda being in charge of the special effects, which he never had been before. He's directing human stuff, and he's technically the director of the effects too. I think also part of it was that like Tsuburaya and crew were doing a really complex exhibit for the upcoming World's Fair at the time in Osaka. Yeah. So like, even if they wanted to include them, like they just probably wouldn't have been able to be around anyway.
Wow.
I think Tsuburaya still gets like a supervisor credit on the movie, but by all accounts, he didn't actually really do anything, which like good for him. However, what Honda did to kind of make up for this, because he was not experienced with filming monster fights, Teruyushi Nakano, who we know for being the director of special effects for 1984's Return of Godzilla.
Okay.
For a long time, he had been working as just like an assistant or assistant director on many Showa era Godzilla movies. So Nakano is available for this movie. So Honda's like, hey, I know you're like an assistant director, but what if you just did whatever you wanted? And he basically, like, Nakano talks about it, was sort of like, yeah, Honda would basically just give me the freedom to literally basically direct all of it.
Wow.
He would still be there, like, overseeing it and giving feedback if needed, but like Nakano is just the assistant director, basically got to do the direct the special effects for this movie, essentially. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's good leadership.
Yeah, trust.
Another thing that he did that I think was interesting, he got a special effects cinematographer, Moritaka Tomioka, who had been, working on previous Toho Kaiju films, but he specifically as a special effects cinematographer, Honda tapped him to be the director of photography. So he's the DP, specifically being like, I need a DP who has filmed kaiju before, because again, I don't really know how to do it. You can just film everything then, basically. So yeah. So his DP, I think that also helps with sort of covering for Honda's lack of experience with this stuff too. There's like one quote that I found from Koji Hashimoto, who we would know goes on to be the director of Return of Godzilla. He was also an assistant director on this movie. He's the one person. So it's funny, the Return of Godzilla connections. He's the one person that I found like anything negative from, because there is a quote from him in one of, I think, Honda's biography, where he said like, there was a feeling of disappointment for those who, quote, those who were involved in creating really heavy kaiju films in the past, but we couldn't do anything about the passing of time. So I think there was a mixture of feelings for doing this,
I can understand that, and we'll talk more about it, but I just think context is so deeply important to this movie, like why it exists, where it exists in history. Sure. The fact it cannot be understated, I think, that the last movie was supposed to be the last one. I think that provides so much context for this one.
Yeah.
I have a question about that. So did audiences understand Destroy All Monsters to be the end, or was that just kind of like an internal, we are sunsetting Godzilla, there will be no more?
I think it was kind of an internal thing.
Okay.
I think that helped too, that it's sort of like there's no audience expectation that there won't be another Godzilla thing, right? So might as well keep it going. Yeah. Yeah. And this was like, all of this was a super quick turnaround. Like it was pitched and approved on around September 10th. The first draft of the screenplay was done 1 week later on September 17th.
Oh my God.
No.
Then a few short weeks later, the final draft was locked. Kids were cast and they started filming on October 11th. So September 17th to October 11th. And then 2 months later, it was released on December 20th. That is how quickly this one got churned out.
That's fast even for these guys.
Yeah. Yeah. 2 months.
Wow.
It's like unfathomable.
Yeah. Yeah. This was the first Godzilla film to not receive a standard theatrical release in Japan.
I was wondering about this.
Yeah.
Oh.
So previously all the Godzilla films would just release in theaters like any other movie would. This one debuts at the Toho Champion Festival, which is a very very popular, like thrice annual, basically like hours long marathon where they would just like marathon, theatrically marathon like movies and cartoons for children essentially. And I think Ultraman sometimes too.
Cool.
So a lot of Godzilla movies would be shown there after their theatrical release, and they would be like edited down. So I think that had been happening since King Kong versus Godzilla, and they would be edited down to like an hour or 70 minutes or something like that. So there's like cuts that exist of these movies where it's like, yeah, this is like the champion edit of it or whatever, just to make them shorter for the runtime and also like focus on the monster fights. This one debuted there, so they didn't have to edit it. I think it's probably partially the reason why this is a 69-minute movie. I think that's also like an interesting context for it and an interesting precedent that it sets, that it's like, this isn't supposed to be treated like a real important big adult movie. This is supposed to be for the children specifically. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
The only other person that I wanted to talk about, the score was by Kunio Maiuchi, who is better known. Okay. So this is crazy. Better known for, doing some tokusatsu TV themes. For example, if you know any music from like classic Ultraman or any of the typical Ultraman tunes that get reused in like every Ultraman thing, he's the one who did it.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, obviously he's probably here before the Tsuburaya connection, but it's interesting that they like tapped him for it. And I think when you know that, you can kind of tell, because this movie has a jazzy sound that does sound like a lot of Toku shows at the time, more than it sounds like a Godzilla movie.
Yes. Yeah. That is an important point. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I have about the production stuff. And like monster things, obviously most of these monsters that we see are like stock footage. So we don't have to like, not a big lift on the costume part really. Godzilla, obviously, like any new footage they film with him, it's just the same costume as Destroy All Monsters. It's still Haruo Nakajima. Minya, still Masao Fukuzawa playing Minya. It's still the same suit as the last movie. I think they did some repairs on it. It's like from the last one. So like it's repaired, but it's basically the same suit. And they did build a new hand operated puppet for his upper body. Basically for like his speaking scenes.
Yeah. I forgot about that. That was a thing that I realized had been mentioned on a previous episode, but I had no context for, so I had not internalized it at all. And then when I was watching the movie, I was like, oh my God, it's all coming back to me. I should have expected this.
Yeah. Midori Uchiyama voices Minya in this movie. Her only other role is like playing a Keylok in the previous like Destroy All Monsters movie. She's just, like one of the background alien ladies, not like a known voice actor. I don't know why her voice is so muffled in this movie. It's really weird. Never understood that.
I know, it sounds like she's doing it in a suit, which doesn't make any sense.
No.
Yeah.
Never understood that choice. But I guess like the one new guy to talk about is Gabara.
Yeah.
There's a little punk.
Yes.
Yasuhiko Kokuko plays him uncredited in this movie, honestly. I only know that from the internet. So far, this is the only credit that person has listed anywhere.
Wow.
No idea who they are.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. What do y'all think about this punk?
Gosh. I mean, I think it's like the perfect punk. He like looks the part, like kind of like, big and quirky and like the hair and the eyes. I don't know. I didn't love him, but like he was like he like fit the role.
Yeah.
That's like the kaiju I would want for a big bully.
Well, I think that's perfect, right? Like you shouldn't necessarily love the bully. You should get those bad feelings. And I think you're right, Vicky. Like he does feel, because he feels pretty different than the monsters we've seen so far. Like one, I do think he is a bit more like mascot-y than the past few have been. And I mean that in like a like has more of a personification and sort of a character and like personality to him. A lot of the ones we've seen recently that were new were like big bugs or a giant lobster, and so he can have a bit more personality. But yeah, he like feels like a mean teenager. The fact that he has like messy hair is like so interesting.
Literally just like a child in kaiju form. It's so strange. Yeah. No, I love it's such a it is such a bizarre design. Like I think the eyes are a big part of it too. His eyes are so strange. Yeah.
And this was a monster created for this movie. It sounds like. Okay. I was wondering that too. Because I assumed this was like an extremely low budget production. So I was wondering if this was like a brand new monster, or if there's like a repurposed one. So I'm glad to know that it's a brand new one. Yeah, it's a brand new one. The only thing that I found, I don't think it's ever been confirmed, but purportedly they like modified some Godzilla stuff for him. Like his head was like a modified Godzilla head, but I don't know which one it would have been if it was. But yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, it's not obvious if that's the case.
Yeah, and I don't know that that's like I think a rumored thing. So who knows if that's even true or not? Yeah. There's just like weird stuff that I found about his name. So originally he was going to be called Gebara, like basically Ge-Bara, right? Okay. That would be the big difference. The rumor is that Sekizawa borrowed the name either from Che Guevara or the German word Gewalt, which means violence, which apparently were both things that were like thrown around in pop culture by Japanese protesters at the time.
Interesting.
Also, supposedly Toho made them change it from Gebara to Ga-Bara in order to avoid confusion with the American biopic Che, which was released in Japan as Guevara, which would sound too much like Gabara.
Oh.
Right.
That makes sense.
Because that had just released in 1969. So
wow,
I didn't realize that Che Guevara would pop up so much for this, but
or at all ever. Would not have predicted.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool design, and I think regardless of where they landed with the name, it sounds like it wasn't going to be super different. I think it's a good name too. It's an easy one. And I like that it is a name that is in universe seemingly pulled from Bully in the universe.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because he's kind of a toad guy. Like that's what people liken him to. But a lot of people have been like, he kind of looks like an Oni too, which I can definitely see. Like there's definitely like the way his face is designed. So it's an odd, interesting sort of combination of ideas. with him.
Yeah.
His roars are apparently mandrill monkey screams that have been like slowed down, and then they, I guess, remix it a bit to sound like laughter.
Wow.
That's kind of horrifying.
It is.
Yeah.
It's wow. Yeah, that's upsetting.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you know, Gabara, Minya, and Godzilla are the only ones that they film new stuff with. There's like one new thing they film with a Kamacuras bug, like when he's walking over the hole that Ishirō falls into. Like that's new.
Okay.
Otherwise, everything else that you see monster-wise is stock footage. I guess that like one plant thing, that like the plant man that grabs Ishirō, if you count that, that's new footage. I don't know if you count that thing as a kaiju. But yeah, everything else is totally just stock footage in this movie, basically. Any thoughts on the monster choices that that they have for this one, like who they chose to appear in it?
So one thing I just wanted to mention with the stock footage, having just listened to you guys talk about it, I also had a polarizing experience with Kumongo in zooming in, zooming out, looking at the pincer real close.
Oh my gosh. And then they show it to us again.
It's so funny.
I know. So to have such an experience with it in the previous movie, and then to like, nope, it's got to stay. This is what we're using.
It's so scary.
It was something. Yeah. And I mean, I was watching that with my dad, and I was like, I'm really uncomfortable with this.
Yeah.
Vicki, because I don't know, I wouldn't have had any knowledge or context of pretty much any of these monsters when I would have known, or when we would have talked about Godzilla. Do you have favorite monsters from this era? And are there any that don't show up in this movie that would be your favorites? I'm a big fan of Anguirus, so even though it's stock footage, I was thrilled to see my boy
for half a second.
Yeah. I don't think I always, like, again, as just a casual Godzilla person, like, I'm always pleasantly surprised with whomever shows up, and like whenever there's, a repeat kaiju. I did like, is it Kamarcus, the mantises?
Kamacuras.
Oh yeah.
Kamacuras, thank you. So when Kamacuras popped back up and was like playing catch with Godzilla, I liked that in Son of Godzilla too. So I was glad to see that. Well, stock footage repeated.
Yeah.
Because that was a fun one. But I don't dislike any of the monsters in general. Mothra is like,
of
OG
course.
fave. So anytime Mothra like flutters on through,
It's a top-notch pick,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will say I was surprised. I mean, I shouldn't have been surprised, but before I had watched Destroy All Monsters and All Monsters Attack, which are like very different movies, but I feel like I'm always just going to like think of them together. Before I had watched them, I really was like not convinced we would see Manda like ever again. And I don't know why. I think it's just like the role that Manda plays in its first movie is like pretty secondary to like the actual plot that's happening. And so I was like, this is cool, but I doubt we'll ever see this monster again. And now I've seen it in like every movie since.
It's so
fun.
So that was I guess not a surprise this time because I had just seen it, but I would have been surprised that it shows up this many times.
Yeah. Well, and it's fun. I mean, because like obviously, like I know that this movie's dealing with stock footage, but many of these characters that show up, like they don't have to. Like they like Manda didn't need to cameo in this movie, but they're just like, we got footage of Manda on an island. Why not just put it on the island, right? Like I don't know. I kind of appreciate that. Like why not? It makes the island feel so much bigger in Ichiro's dreams. So why wouldn't he be thinking of all of his favorite monsters, right?
Yeah. And Ebirah spotlighted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you hear how uncomfortable I was trying to say it that way? I'm so used to saying Ebirah, and I've been hearing people say Ebirah that I tried it out and it feels wrong. So I'm going to stick with Ebirah.
I said Gabara earlier. And I like Gabara. Gabara feels better in my mouth. I don't know.
But I've now drawn Ebirah more times than I would have expected, and so I have like a connection, I feel like, to Ebirah, and I like seeing him again.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. Yeah, and again, island movie, right? Like
exactly.
Have the water guy in it. human cast wise, it's also like it's interesting because it's not a huge cast for this movie. Again, it's a small movie, right? It's a low budget movie. Our lead Ishirō is played by Tomonori Yazaki. This kid hasn't really done much. He did a couple of Ultraman guest appearances, but this is his biggest role. He really disappeared afterwards. Even some of the books that I was referencing was specifically like, we tried to find him for an interview and we literally could not track him down.
Whoa.
By all accounts, he was easy to work with. He didn't really require much direction from Honda. Honda has all he's ever really said about it, other than that, like, the kid took direction well, was that, like, he just wouldn't treat the kids like kids. He would treat them like adults, like the same way he would treat adult actors. And he liked their performances as a result. Like, that's about it. So didn't seem like there was any issues with him. But I like him. I think he's really good.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't even notice until after, when I was like, man, I didn't remember that this was truly a kid's movie, but also I wasn't like distracted by him at all. Like, usually sometimes the kids can get annoying or, and he was just like good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really, really impressed. So I was wondering if he went on to act, and it's like shocking to me that he didn't.
It's a bummer, yeah.
Because it felt really effortless, and it's not like you said, Vicky, sometimes the kids get annoying, or it's like obvious that, like, you know, maybe it's a little too much work for a kid to be doing this or carrying a movie, and it never really felt like that with him. I was really, really impressed. Do we know if any of these kids go on to act? Because I wonder. Oh my goodness. It might have been good for Ishirō Honda to treat them like adult actors. I wonder if it was great for the kids.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that any of the other. I don't know if any of the other kids have gone on. I mean, like, for example, any pages on wikis, they don't have links for their names. So
yeah, so who knows?
I didn't do deep dives on each one of them, so maybe one of them went on to greater fame somewhere. But
they also cast this so quickly with like no budget, so they're not starring or they're not finding like starring child actors,
right? And Ichiro's the only one who really gets to like do a significant amount of stuff. Like all, you know, the other kids are there, like have like, you know, 4 lines each or whatever. You know what I mean? So, you know. Yeah, but I know I totally agree with you. I think it is kind of effortless. And I think part of it is that I think that this movie is written well in that he is not a precocious kid. He kind of is like what a real child who just likes Godzilla would be like. You know what I mean? Like, he feels very authentic of like a kid who's just a fan of kaiju and dreams about kaiju. And the most, you know, I guess unrealistic thing is like him going full like Kevin McAllister on the robbers at the end of it.
Truly.
Yeah. Like this movie truly did just inspire Home Alone 2 Lost in New York specifically.
1,000%.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I was very impressed. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Some of the people, I mean, I think the most recognizable person, one of, I guess, 2 most recognizable people in this movie, Kenji Sahara, shows up
everywhere.
Yeah. He's in a very minor role. He's Ichiro's dad. We really only see him just like conducting a train. That's about it. Which, you know, fits the vibe of the movie that his parents on around, right? Yeah. His mom also actually has done a handful of things. Michiko Naka, she's been in a bunch of Ultraman shows up through like 1997. She was in like Ultraman Taiga. Yeah. She was also a recurring character in the 80s Toku series Biclosser. So
I don't know this one.
It's not one that I have watched yet, but I've been intending to. It looks very much like a Metal Heroes show. It's not a Metal Heroes show, but it looks similar to a Metal Heroes show of that time period.
Gotcha.
But like his dad, like she's not really around very much. She's really meant to be there as sort of like this background character, just to show like her absence is meant to be felt. She's there specifically so you can note that his mom isn't around most of the time, you know?
Yeah.
The other kind of recognizable person, Hideo Yamamoto, plays the Shinpei, the toy guy, the toy inventor dude. We know him as Doctor Who from King Kong Escapes, among other things. Let's see. And then the only people that I thought were of note were the 2 bank robbers. One of them is Sachio Sakai, who's actually pretty prolific. He's been in a ton of Kurosawa films. He did a few other kaiju films that we've seen, but always in like minor roles. Like he was in the original Godzilla as just like some guy. He was in like King Kong vs. Godzilla, King Kong. He's showed up ones we watched, but always as a background character. I think this is the first time in a movie we've seen for Godzilla stuff that he's been in like a lead role. And then Kazuo Suzuki, who is one of the other robbers, or the other robber, he was Dr. Ghost in Kamen Rider Super 1, which is a significant role in that show. And he also has just had a bunch of just like minor and supporting roles in other kaiju films and Ultramans. So I think they're just pulling from their like mostly TV staff, I think, at this point.
Yeah. Which again, kind of makes sense to me. I was like surprised to see Kenji Sahara in here. And I'm not necessarily surprised to see Yoshifumi Tajima in here, but I was a little surprised because he's one of the movie guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did spot him and I was like, oh yeah, Doug's gonna call him out.
One of the police officers, Vicki, is this guy named Yoshifumi Tajima, who's in like every Godzilla movie. Once you see him, you can't unsee him.
Oh, cool.
But he's never in a major role. So I like to point out when he's shown up because he's always somewhere in the background or off to the side somewhere.
I was watching Kurosawa's High and Low for the first time the other day, which is also a movie about a child being abducted. Funny enough,
oh no,
that came out on the side, but he shows up in that movie too as a background character,
and you'll never not notice.
I think as a cop, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he's like one of those guys that's like always a cop or a military guy or some sort of like Navy off. Yeah. Any other people that I missed that anybody wanted to call out? I don't think that there really is anyone else. No.
It's a small movie. It's a small, beautiful, lean 69-minute movie, and I love that about it. I mean, that's all I have for this sort of main production stuff. We really can talk about anything at this point. Where do you all want to start?
Because this sort of follows up on some of the production stuff, my big thought coming out of this is how much it actually kind of makes sense despite having been such a surprise to me as to like what the movie is. And so I keep mentioning, like, I think context is important. And I think one of the things that makes a lot of sense to me about this movie maybe makes sense to me because of like other properties. So like I've watched a bunch of Power Rangers and other tokusatsu shows and other sort of like smaller Japanese special effects productions that have like a similar vibe to this, and that's what this movie feels like. I've also seen like tokusatsu shows or anime that are one chunk of a larger franchise that end up getting to sort of a point where they can be self-referential. And so to see a movie in the Godzilla franchise that is about a kid who is a fan of Godzilla monsters doesn't really faze me. And I just wonder if like the people who get really mad about this movie like haven't been exposed to other things like that, or if they just hate the idea of media being made for children ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like to me, that's just, it quickly felt like those types of shows or those types of seasons or those types of things.
Yeah, I do think that that's a big part of it. I feel like you see that anytime that a franchise like a series or a franchise runs for a long time, and it's something that's sort of like made for families and does an installment that skews more towards kids than maybe it did before, fandoms always like hate it. Like they go rabid about that kind of thing. So I think that it's like, on for that specifically, I think seeing Godzilla pivot so hard into being explicitly for children, I think probably does ruffle feathers. And it's like, but I'm trying to take this seriously and make other people take what I love seriously. And I can't take it seriously if it's made for 4-year-olds, you know?
Which I think is ignorant.
Yeah, right. I agree.
Is a lot of that like pushback on it coming from people now watching it? Or was it, even at the time or when it had the US release, people were just not having it?
I don't know about at the time. But I don't think it's just now though, because I've looked up stuff from like the 90s, for example. And that, that was very much this sort of idea then. That was like, this is the worst one that we hate. At the time, who knows? Like, I mean, I'm sure some people know it wasn't that long ago, but I think that like, it's hard to these days on the internet where like, it's hard to really parse. So I would love for someone who was like literally, maybe experiencing these things like in the 70s for the first time, I would love to hear what your feelings were like in the contemporary time.
Yeah.
But I do think that like in America for a long time, there already was a perspective of by that point that Godzilla movies were just silly and for kids anyway. So I think that by the time this movie comes out, it's just sort of reaffirming what a lot of people are already kind of thinking about it. And then you maybe have that sort of subsection, like the more niche side of fandom that is trying to be more knowledgeable and learn more about it and really into it. And those are already there. I'm sure those people are getting mad about it. But like, I think for a while, this was just sort of like Mystery Science Theater fodder, you know, where it's like made to be something that's sort of made fun of and viewed as silly.
Yeah. I just have like such a clear picture of the people who are mad because I just like, you know, like I just feel like you can imagine them. I feel like you can imagine all the fights they have on the internet. And like, they're like, you know, like we said, there are things within this movie, within its own universe that you can certainly sort of like pick at.
Yeah, there's criticisms you can make for this movie. Absolutely.
Yeah. But it's, I don't know. It just seems like a silly movie to get like mad about.
Yeah. Right. This is where you're putting your energy.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's such a harmless movie. Yeah.
I could maybe get it if you were coming straight from Destroy All Monsters and you were expecting something, you know, like big and angry and like all monsters attack and like it's a little, the title's, you know, not the clearest of what you're going to get.
Revenge.
Yeah, none of the names are really giving the correct vibe. Even Godzilla's Revenge is not exactly telling you what the movie is.
Right. So I could get it from that perspective, but I think you are right. Like it's not confused people who are not liking it.
Yeah. Well, and more even than Derek, it being harmless, I think if you can put it in the right context and if you can imagine who this movie was for, or if you were who this movie was for when you watched it for the first time, it's not just harmless. It sounds like it was valuable. I mean, Vicki, you said that you connected to this in a particular way because it's about like standing up to people.
Yeah, standing up for yourself. Yeah. And I like personally, I was reflecting on this with my family and I was like, I wasn't bullied, but like I remember this kid and like how he had to work through his problems and like how he stood up to his Gabara at the end. And I was like, oh no, you were bullied. Like, oh, I was like, oh God. So like maybe this did have like an actual, impact beyond it, like framing how I thought about people and how they treated, me or others. So yeah, like there was like an impact. It was, important as a 6-year-old watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that there's something kind of cool. I'll talk about like the last thing that happens in this movie because I have issues with like the final moment.
Yes,
it's an interesting choice.
It's an interesting choice. But everything leading up to that, I can't wait to talk about that. But everything leading up to that, I do think the general idea that I find kind of like refreshing compared to a lot of like sort of bully narratives like in the modern day is like this movie isn't explicitly about like, well, just get to know your bully and then you can become friends, or like find a common thing that you both like and suddenly you'll become friends. Like there's a little bit of that in this movie. Like he does seem to become friends with the bullies out of nowhere by the end of it, or at least they respect him. But the movie isn't trying to position it as sort of like, well, bullies are just, people that you just have to like find their kind of weak spot and appeal to it and like be passive at it or whatever. It's like, the movie is sort of like some people are just shitty and you can't let them walk all over you. You've just got to stand up for yourself and stand up to them and be assertive. And like, that's a good fucking lesson, honestly. Like sometimes you just got to grow a backbone and like be a punk back. Like, especially these days, it's like some people you just got to tell them to fuck off. And that's the only way you're going to get through them.
And I really like that, like, Minya's kind of quirky and, like, he's not painted as like a cool little kaiju. Like, he's got his own quirks. One of my favorite things that I just like laughed out loud when they said, like, Ishirō was like, "What are you doing?" And Minya's like, "Nothing. I have no friends." So like super relatable too. If like you're that kid and you're like struggling and you're like, who am I? All of these little things.
Yeah, and if you're a kid, both in the universe or out of the universe, and you stop to think about the fact that Minya is the only monster like it, like all the other monsters are these like big scary monsters, and you're like the one child monster. Yeah, where would Minya find friends? So it's like an instantly built-in relatable thing for like any kid who feels like lonely or like they're having a hard time connecting to people, or that everybody is like bigger or tougher than them.
Yeah, especially since he can like shrink too, so he's even smaller when we meet him.
Dude,
that's a special skill,
right?
dream logic. This movie just operates on dream logic. It's fine. It's literally a dream. Why not?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I actually really like that. I'm certain that there are people who hate the fact that it's all a dream in this, but I actually think it's really kind of cool to see, that this movie is about like a kid who like, there's a character they admire or there's a story in fiction that means something to them that they like pull from to like find ideas and comfort and like confidence in. I think it's cool. And I think it's cool that story and that piece of fiction is something that is fiction in our world. Like that's what I think is such a cool idea about this movie. And I think they execute it really, really well. I mean, it's like, Derek, you do gimmicks and there's like good ways to do a clip show and bad ways to do a clip show. Yeah. And this isn't a clip show per se. Right. But this would be, if this were serving that purpose, like it would be a better version of a clip show because it has its own story and it's using that stock footage and those stories and that knowledge the kid has to actually like push things sort of forward. And I think that's a smart way for them to have gone about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the stock footage honestly even makes sense in that context because it's like the kid's just remembering Godzilla movies like we do. Like
right,
when you're really into something, you will rewatch the same scenes. Like nowadays go on YouTube and like replay your favorite scenes from something. That's all he's doing. He's just remembering some of his favorite Godzilla movies and replaying the scenes in them, like in his dreams. Like it makes sense, honestly.
Yeah. There's like a dark version of it where he's like being kidnapped by these guys and dissociating. But you know what? It's all
no.
It's all productive.
He's too little to dissociate. Yeah, he doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah. Do you think that people would? To be clear, I like this movie, and I think the way it's structured is really interesting. But do you think that people maybe would have responded to it better? I feel like the answer is probably no. But do you think people would have responded to it better if it was structured more like a Wizard of Oz type of scenario where like it's ambiguous whether it's a dream or not, where it's like the kid just goes into a fantasy monster island where there are a lot of parallels to whatever trauma he's going through in his real life, goes through a whole adventure on Monster Island that could be real, where he fell into another universe or something. And then after he leaves, it's like, maybe it was a dream, but maybe it was a real magical thing that happened to him. But either way, he's learned from that experience and then fights off robbers and saves the day. Like, do you think it would have been received better because it's at least sort of a more, I guess, traditional children's fantasy structure, or would people probably hate it either way, but I don't know. I don't know if that would improve it or make it worse, actually.
I don't know. I like that having the like snap out, snap in dream thing, like it does advance the story and it like gives it a break. So I think with pacing wise, it helps it move. I don't dislike that Wizard of Oz angle, but I don't know if it would help.
I think that Wizard of Oz angle is a really cool idea, and I would like to see it done specifically with that, in mind. To answer your question, though, I don't know if it would necessarily help people because I just think about like when Power Rangers had a child who was a Power Ranger, like people fucking hated it. And so to like put a kid like arguably in the actual real world of the kaiju interacting with kaiju, like I don't know if that would be better for people who are mad about this.
That's true.
But I do think that would be a really cool movie to make it very specifically like, what if the Wizard of Oz actually was like, what if Oz was actually the world of monsters,
Right.
Yeah.
You could find fun ways to have like, these different kaiju, like recognizable kaiju, like kind of parallel real people. Like there's a little bit of that in this movie, but you could go even harder on it if you wanted to. And
I think it could push some people. I think it would push some people towards liking it more because then the people who don't like this because it's not like high cinema enough for them, I think could like find that in there and be like, no, it's actually really smart. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. To your point though, Vicki, I do think that I think you wouldn't be able to do, I think actually to both of your points, because Doug, I think you're right. I think you'd have to do that very intentionally. And Vicki, to your point, I think the pacing thing is important because if you don't have those breaking out of snapping out of it sequences into the real world, then you're spending almost all of your time just watching stock footage after stock footage after stock footage, which would feel worse. And I do think getting away from the stock footage every so often and only getting it in sort of like these small spurts or like just one fight and then you move on to the next thing, I think maybe helps not feel burnt out from the fact that you are basically watching a clip show.
So that's a good point.
Thinking about that.
Yeah, you'd have to do the Wizard of Oz style one as totally original footage.
Right.
To make that work.
Right. Yeah. I think, not to go on a whole other, tangent or soapbox about it, I guess, but like, I think the stock footage thing is another big sticking point for people. Cause I do think that I think even people who get behind the kid thing automatically look at like, well, this movie, like such a big percentage of it is scenes that we've already seen in other movies. That immediately turns them off too. And I can sort of understand that, but I've always had a little bit of a beef with the immediate knee-jerk hatred that people have towards the concept of recycling or reusing footage from previous things. And part of that, like, is like Doug was saying, like growing up on like Power Rangers, growing up Power Rangers, even like anime, like Spider-Man the animated series, always recycled its own footage. Digimon, that anime just reused the same transformation footage and stuff all the time, right? Like we grew up on shows saving money by reusing footage, but then still telling like often really, really good stories. Even within that, it's sort of like, I can deal with like the cheap stuff. When you're a kid, you almost don't notice it. Or like in my case, I liked it. I like seeing the same transformation sequences over and over again. Like maybe that's maybe your brain has to be wired a particular way to really like that. But I'm like, I can just watch like a YouTube compilation of the same transformations over and over again. And that's like ASMR for me. Like that's like perfect. It is so relaxing and comforting.
I literally just sent a group chat like a hour-long compilation of magical girl transformations and was like, if this is your shit, it's going to be extremely your shit.
Right.
And it's my shit.
I love that stuff. I love that stuff. And so I have such a hard time understanding the brain of people who like don't like to see something that they like more than once, I guess.
Right.
Like that baffles me.
At the very least, inherently then qualify the thing that it's a part of as bad. Because I think it's one of those things where it is entirely a tool and how you use it. There are scenarios where I see stock footage and how it's used and I'm like, that's trash. But it's not inherently bad for me,
Like if you want to criticize this movie's use of stock footage, I think that, it is a little noticeable that Godzilla's design changes like in every scene because you're seeing footage of him from every movie. Like, I think that could be a fair criticism to be like, that takes me out of the film. I can't focus on it when I see that, and that annoys me, and therefore I don't like it. I think that is a fair thing to say for why you wouldn't like stock footage being used. But I think it always gets. I think that you can criticize, like you're saying, Doug, you can criticize how that tool is used, but I can't get behind people just saying like, why is it bad? Because it has a lot of stock footage. Like that can't be your only reason. Film and TV is the only art form where the idea of like reusing something and repurposing something that had been previously used is like considered to be a bad thing. Like in music, you can sample previous songs and make new songs out of it, and people fucking love that.
It's a whole art form.
Right. They're not saying like, you reused a pre-existing song that you didn't make new from scratch, therefore it's automatically bad. No one says that, When you're cooking, if you have a bunch of leftovers, put them together and make a new dish out of it, no one's like, well, that food was made for a different dish, so this is obviously disgusting. When you're putting together an outfit by like getting closer to a thrift shop, putting together a new outfit, they're not sort of like, that outfit wasn't made to go together. Like no one does that. People only do that when it comes to movies and TV by saying that apparently unless you fully film every single thing new from scratch, like every moment of it at all times, that's the only way it can be pure art. Otherwise it's garbage if you reuse anything that you previously had before. And I just think that like, I genuinely think that is just like an anti-art sentiment. Like I think that sentiment is fully anti-art. You're literally saying an entire way that you can make art is bad objectively for no reason. Like why do you have to make everything 100% from scratch all the time?
And particularly because other mediums don't have that same attitude, and people who have that attitude don't have that same attitude for other mediums.
If you're using footage to make a narrative out of it and a new story, guess what? You're making a movie. Like that's all that is.
Yeah, that's also an incredible point. But I have to say, the moment you said, if you're cooking, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. If you're cooking, let them cook. But you were like literally talking about cooking. And that was very funny to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Also, let them cook.
I mean, I wouldn't, if I had watched this as a kid, I wouldn't have noticed. I was never good at noticing those things.
Yeah.
I totally understand, Derek, where like, if you noticed it, you could be super into it too, because like, I could see being like, it would kind of make you feel smart, right? Like to be like, I know where that came from. I've seen that in these 3 episodes. I never noticed it. So I was just like blissfully unaware and was like, my favorite show is on this much longer because they're reusing footage, you know? So I never would have noticed. I don't know if you were someone who noticed or didn't, Vicki, but I never noticed that stuff as a kid.
Oh, no.
I only notice it half the time now.
Well, and I mean, you're talking to the person who has played God of War multiple times over and over and over again, and like playing the same thing or experiencing the same thing, like brings me a sense of comfort. So like, I don't mind when stuff gets reused at all. And I think especially in this context, so like, again, it's for kids. I think you do get a little more playroom there, you know? So yeah, it didn't bother me one bit.
Yeah. And the alternative is you just don't get more Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
Which is like,
exactly.
I don't know why you would be fighting for that. Like,
right. They weren't going to make that Godzilla movie you wanted if they didn't make this one.
Yeah.
They just would have not made a Godzilla movie.
Right.
So I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I do think it's fascinating that this is, I mean, obviously this comes decades before Home Alone, but I do find it so fascinating that such a big part of this movie is him getting kidnapped and being in this sort of like derelict building and doing a little bit of Kevin McAllister magic. That tickled me so much. I
fully understand the reference, but I've not seen any of the Home Alones. So like how I know that's another issue. But
so that wasn't a shame thing. It just genuinely was surprised
because they were like on TV every year, like as a kid. Yeah.
But this is the kind of thing where like I would love for you to watch them now and see what you think, because I wonder if you'd watch it and be like, what is happening? Why is this kid?
Ooh, okay.
It's so funny because Vicki, I was almost going to ask you, and I thought it would be too like obvious of a question, but so I didn't ask it. But I was gonna ask you, like, do you know if you saw this movie before you had seen Home Alone?
Nope.
And I guess the answer is yes.
No Home Alone for me.
Yeah, I mean, the reference is just that in this, you know, Home Alone, the second one specifically, he's not in his own home. He's like in a derelict apartment building, like in New York. And so a lot of the things that he has to do,
and they're two robbers who are after him,
literally trying to like kill him or threatening him. And so a lot of things he has to do in that derelict apartment are like similar to the things that Ishirō sort of thinks about doing here.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, like setting traps and stuff like that. Like his Macaulay Culkin has more elaborate traps than Ishirō does.
Of course.
But Ishirō walked so Macaulay Culkin could
scream into the mirror with his hands on his cheeks.
Toss entire bricks off of a building onto people's heads.
Yeah.
And electrocute them and knock them downstairs with paint cans.
Yeah, the darkness is much more clear in Home Alone, I feel like, because in here it tends to be pretty charming, and you are like the things that Ishirō is doing are so much less violent. They are much more like, how can I distract them or get them away from me so that I can get away? So I think it ends up being much more charming here. You don't have to really think too deeply about the fact that these guys are like threatening him with a knife, and that they've like kidnapped this child over like his driver's license. I mean, it makes sense, but it's a little lighter here than it is in Home Alone sometimes, even though Home Alone are like explicitly comedy movies.
Yeah, but even still, it's funny how like I don't feel like the robbers in this movie ever felt particularly threatening, even though they're literally holding a knife to his face. I don't really know how they pull that off, but I never felt like, obviously I know that they're not going to kill the kid or anything, but like you can still.
They also don't say they will, you know, like in Home Alone, they literally say that they will kill him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But like, I think that there's a nice balance with it, because it's like, it doesn't feel like there are no stakes. The stakes are there. Like, you know that the kid needs to get out of there, but it does not feel like you're not actually worried for the kid. Yeah. I guess because the robbers are so clearly kind of inept and like aren't really that into what they're doing, it seems like, and like aren't even really like that. I don't know. Like they treat the kid reasonably well, considering that they've like kidnapped him maybe with intent to kill him. You know what I mean? Like they let him just take a nap at a certain point, and they're like, all right, sure, whatever.
Yeah. Vicki, I'm curious. I think I know some of the answer to this because of what resonated with you in this movie. But having watched this movie as a kid and then rewatching it now, and rewatching it now with the same people you watched it with when you watched it as a kid, how much of it did you realize you remembered, or how much of it was like a surprise again? I'm so fascinated, and particularly of what, because I know the things that would have resonated with me as a kid, and I think I would have been surprised watching it now if I had watched it as a kid first.
I really had no recollection of like the plot per se. So like I completely forgot that like Ishirō was the main character. I remembered it as a Godzilla movie that had a kid and Minya, not a movie with Minya and a kid and then Godzilla makes like a couple 30-second appearances of that. Yeah. So that was surprising this go round. I also like I didn't remember like the dream sequency bits. Or that Monster Island was maybe like a fictional place instead of like a truth in the world. So that was kind of fun to wrap my head around too. And then the robber sequence. I remember like I have when you told me that I got to do this one and you're like, it's not Son of Godzilla, it's the other one. And I was like, oh no, this is actually the one that I truly remember because it was all fuzzy at the time. Sure. I have a visual of Ishirō on Monster Island when he's peering over the rocks with Minya. Like that has been in my mind since like 30 years. Good God. Yeah. So like there was a nostalgia factor. It did bring a lot of that back up. But just a lot of the fight of it all are like having to fight and like stand up for yourself. Like that's, I think the stuff that resonated with me at the core.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me. I think one of the things that's so funny about nostalgia is like, you really do remember how you felt about things, not necessarily the details of things. And so like it's such a common experience for people to go back and watch a show from when they were a kid. And we're like, I remember this being so cool. Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, because when you were watching it, it was the coolest shit you'd ever seen. Like it was cool when you watched it for the first time. And it's cool that you thought that, you know? So that makes total sense to me. I think if I had watched this as a kid, I wouldn't have remembered the specifics of why I might have remembered he was kidnapped, but I don't know that I would have been paying attention to like the social issue part of it. And I wouldn't have necessarily, I might have felt, Ichiro's situation, but I wouldn't have like known the context and been like, oh yeah, that's the movie about the latchkey kid whose parents are never around. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why he's having these specific memories and resonates with this specific character. Like that would have been lost on me.
I also think it's cool. It's like going back to the threat of the robbers. Like, and I wasn't phased by much as a kid, but like, I wasn't terrified I was going to get abducted and like held at knife point after that too. You know, like the takeaway wasn't fear of adult strangers or being left alone. So, at least from that vantage point, I think that it felt balanced. Like it was still just like a kid's fun movie, not like be fearful of the adults kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, when I watch this now, I'm sort of like, Ichiro just kind of like hanging out and exploring like abandoned factories. I'm like, that's the kind of shit I would love to do.
It's cool.
The only reason I love that stuff. I would like to do that now. That sounds really fun now, right? Yeah. Like, yeah. I mean, as a kid growing up, I was technically a latchkey kid in that I was like just kind of left to my own devices, home alone for a while. I just like lived in the middle of nowhere, so there wasn't like anywhere I could go. So I just stayed in my house anyway. Like it's not like I could do the cool things that they would do in movies or visit abandoned factories like Ichiro does. Which I'm like, damn, I kind of missed out. This seems really fun outside of the getting kidnapped by robbers part. But yeah, I can definitely see how it would like, depending on your situation, it could really resonate. I do think that like, I have heard people who had the quintessential latchkey kid experience where like their parents just weren't around and they could just go wherever they wanted in the city they lived in. I do think that for a lot of people, that is something that's like very formative for them. And I can sort of see having that reflected in a movie in this way could be like really, really powerful. I think like seeing like, cause this movie shows, I think it doesn't glorify it, but it also doesn't make it look like miserable either. It's like Ichiro's having a good time, but also it is a little weird that his parents are simply not around. Like they clearly care about him, but like, it does seem like a problem and something that will affect him as he grows older, that his parents are just never around, even if they're technically, working to provide for him,
Yeah, it's interesting because I know Ishiro Honda specifically wanted to have this in here because it's something he was thinking about. But knowing that, it's interesting to see how it turns out, because the social issue really kind of just like provides context for the events that happen more than it is like taking a strong stance or like shouting at people to think about something in a particular way. It's more just like, here is a situation that I've been thinking about. And like you said, Derek, it's not like making it the scariest thing in the world or the coolest thing in the world. It is just sort of like the events that happen in this movie are kind of only possible, both good and bad, because this is the circumstance this kid is in.
Kind of slice of life.
Yeah.
It does seem, I feel like there's like a little bit, like a subtle statement that it makes, because by the end of it, after, you know, the kid's been literally kidnapped, you know, when he's reunited with his mom, like she's crying and like wanting, you know, telling him that like she'll be there for him more and everything, you know, which like, you know, she did just get her son back from like a kidnapping of robbers. So like, obviously she's going to be emotional regardless, but like, I do think having like, they didn't need to include that moment in this children's movie, but I think having that sort of, I think what could be a cathartic moment for the mom, just really expressing like, I'm sorry if you ever felt bummed out that I wasn't around, you were right. And I will be better at not making that happen as much.
Yeah. I don't think this movie doesn't have things to say. It just never feels like it's chastising anyone. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm going to ask an annoying question that I can ask you, Vicki, but we can't always ask people. And you can tell me not that you don't want to answer this, but you are a guest who has a kid watching a movie that you watched as a kid that is aimed at kids. And I'm curious to know what you think about this as a movie, either to introduce kids to Godzilla or just a movie to watch with kids. That is a Godzilla movie. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I am so glad that you asked. So this afternoon when I got home from work, there were a couple things that I was like, oh, I want to go back and skim through on HBO to see if this happened or if I'm remembering this right. And my son was with me and I was like, he could totally watch this. And he wanted to watch Spider-Man, so we didn't get to watch the movie again.
Look, we're not going to be mad about that.
I know, of all people, you get it. But I totally felt like I could show it to him now. He's 2.5. We don't watch a ton of TV, but I'm really mindful of like what might freak him out. And I don't think these kaiju would. Maybe some of the beginning monsters, but I think he would really love Minya. I think he would laugh at Gabara. I would tell him Godzilla is cool, so it would be okay. But I definitely would show it. I would feel comfortable showing it to him probably in a couple of years to be like realistic. But I think it's great as a kid's movie. We'll get to the end, but I think most like we'll just like stop it.
Good kids movie with parents to process with.
Yeah. You know, and like talk about. But I do like that, like, it's very real. Like, Ishirō, you know, he doesn't, like, talk about his feelings, but, like, he acknowledges the situation. Minya acknowledges, like, how he's feeling, and he wants to be strong, and he's, you know, not like his dad just yet, you know. I think that's totally fine. Yeah, I think it holds up as a kid's movie, with some caveat, but...
Yeah, a couple here and there. Godzilla could chill out a little bit, you know?
Yeah, and even the monster fights... the violence levels in comparison to Destroy All Monsters. Like, we had a lot of slap fighting. I mentioned, like, the ball back and forth was funny. You know, like, there was very little scary, big violence.
Yeah. And when they do show anything involving the kids, which I know we keep sort of, like, alluding to, it's all shot in a particular way to not actually show them doing anything to each other. You know what I mean? Like they shoot it specifically so that it's like cuts and sort of these like, you don't see like you don't see them tackling each other. You see like a cut and then another cut and then this cut, you know, like, so.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, and that probably helped them just like not have to worry about choreographing and filming that stuff.
Truly. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting.
You'll just have to remind, you know, kids that Godzilla is a friend when he's like kicking Minya.
yeah, like it's a loving thing.
They're monsters, so they show how they care differently than we would because we're humans.
So I guess we can talk about this a little bit too. The way Godzilla parents is not how I would parent.
I don't.
We like to explore and try things and not provide like hand-holdy support all of the time, but it's also not like I don't care. Go like defeat your own demons.
Figure it out, kid.
Yeah, no, we don't do that here. So I think that also would be a conversation piece, maybe.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's not the parenting thing that I expect you to be talking about. Because the stuff that I think is really in your face is the fact that in Son of Godzilla and this one, Godzilla gets Minya to quote perform by like stepping on his tail, or like gets him to go back to the fight by like kicking him to turn him around. Like that's more what I was thinking. But you're right. Like Minya talks, I think, multiple times in this movie about how, Godzilla told me I just have to do it on my own. Like that he's not going to help me and he's not going to help me figure it out. And that, in the movie, I think it's presented as an opportunity for Minya to learn and grow and explore. But I think Minya communicates it in a way that is sort of like, but I kind of wish you were around a little bit to help me out,
Yeah.
Which fits, I think, the general theme of these two characters.
Yeah. Definitely not how I parent. That's all.
We'll let you explore, but we'll be nearby just in case.
Yeah.
What's interesting too is like one of the things that they filmed new for this was refilming the sequence of Godzilla teaching Minya to use his atomic breath. Like that happened in Son of Godzilla.
Yeah.
They don't reuse the footage, they refilm it. And like one easy reason is that like Godzilla was like ugly as hell in Son of Godzilla.
Yeah.
Like if we have the opportunity, why not fill it with a cooler looking suit? That could be part of it. But I do wonder if they were trying to frame him a little bit differently because it's not exactly the same. Like I don't think in Son of Godzilla, he literally threatens to like hit Minya with his fist. And I don't think he does in this, does he? I think they do cut that out.
I don't remember it happening in this one. And I think I don't remember. Does him stepping on I know that
does happen. Yeah.
Okay. Because I remembered Ishirō like drop something on Minya's tail to make him do it, but I couldn't remember if Godzilla stepping on his tail was in this one too. I just remember the kick in this one that I don't know if was in the Son of Godzilla one. I think was that added to this one?
That might have been. It's weird because I'm like, it's not different enough to feel like they were trying to like specifically frame the relationship differently. It really felt like they just did the same scene again, but like slightly tweaked. I'm just not really sure. I've read some people are sort of like, yeah, it's like filmed to make him look like more of a stern parent. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the case. I think it was pretty stern in Son of Godzilla.
I think they made that extremely clear. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I think he was like explicitly described as a stern parent.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. It was just interesting. It could also literally just be like because they wanted to refilm it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. The Godzilla Minya stuff is always going to be an interesting relationship thing, given how much this movie is about a kid's relationship or non-relationship with his parents.
I also wonder like what a nurturing Godzilla Minya relationship would look like. Like, would that break Godzilla's facade of like this, like. Like it could be cool, but also I think it might not be. I don't know.
Part of the appeal is the Hank Hill Bobby Hill scenario, and you can never let Hank Hill be too emotional to his son, no matter how much he actually loves him. And I think that it kind of is the case with Godzilla too.
Yeah. I think there's that for sure, and I also think there's always, especially around this point in time for Godzilla, there's just this like push and pull of Godzilla as an animal monster and Godzilla as a like anthropomorphized monster.
Ooh,
and so you don't like, we don't look at lions raising their cubs and criticize how rough they're being. You know what I mean? Like, but with Godzilla, there's like this push-pull aspect of like he's becoming more like a mascot and more like a friend to all children in a Gamera type way. And so you're sort of reminded of that, where I think the obvious intent is for him to be like an animal parenting their cub.
Yeah. Well, when you put it that way, it makes more sense.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the push-pull is there. Like, I think the reason we all think about it is because they're doing a good job of personifying Godzilla.
Yeah.
And Minya, especially.
Yeah.
Speaking of anthropomorphizing, can we talk about Minya talking? Like talking? Yeah. I definitely noticed it because like I did not remember that. Which was fine. And I think I did not like it at first, and then I was okay with it. Like, it really didn't bother me, but it was odd a little bit.
Yeah. I think it works in this movie, given what this movie is. The fact that this is all happening inside. I mean, this is a case, Derek, where like this specifically, I think, is no problem for me because this is all dream stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it would be harder for me to have a very like clear-cut position on it if this were the Wizard of Oz scenario.
That's fair. I do still think, because I mean, again, I like this movie. I don't mind Minya talking in it, even though I don't understand why it's so hard to like understand what Minya's saying, like why it's so muffled. But
there's also a way to do it without him literally speaking.
I was going to say, why couldn't he just make noises and they do like a Chewbacca thing where it's just like Ichiro can understand what he's saying, you know, and just like repeats what he's saying sometimes. Like, I think that would have worked just as well and better, honestly.
Yeah. I think the talking doesn't bother me given the context, but I also don't think it's necessary. And I think you're right. I mean, Chewbacca has been in how many movies and TV shows and has literally never spoken English, and it's been fine.
How weird would it be if one day they're like,
it'd be horrifying. It
would
would
be a universal translator.
It would be horrifying. It would be like when Pikachu talks. I hate it. I hate when Pikachu talks. I don't know why they ever do it. Yeah. And I kind of figured, you know, that this is kind of what that would feel like, but I don't think it necessarily does. But I do think you're right, Derek. I mean, these movies have already shown us scenarios where the monster, and I think to varying success, they've shown monsters doing monster communication and having humans interpret it. And I think in this case, I think it would be kind of cool to have a kid be the one who can understand the monsters. Like that would be cool as a kid to see a kid be like, oh, he can talk to monsters, not because the monster's speaking the same language, but because he understands a monster, you know?
Yeah. I think this movie does a really good job with like just like little idiosyncrasies with Ichiro. I think that also make him look really realistic. Like when he's exploring the factory and he just finds like an old headset and just starts wearing the headset
so cute.
for the whole rest of the movie.
I was
wondering about that because when I first watched it, I didn't really think anything of the headset, and then I watched it again today and was like, why does he wear this headset for so long? And I was like, does he wear it for the rest of the movie? Because I wonder if it ended up being like a practical thing where like the kid had a hard time doing lines or something and they're literally like, but no, he doesn't wear it for the solution. But he doesn't wear it for the rest of the movie. So it ends up just being this like character thing. Like he's just a kid who found a headset and then wears it for the rest of the day, which is so real.
Yeah, I was just saying that's so real. I still do that kind of stuff now. Like I'll dig up something out of a box. I have like this one like plastic pair of like black glasses that I think were from like a nerd costume from like, you know, childhood. And I feel like there's sometimes if I'm going, it's like inevitable. I'm not doing it on purpose. It's inevitable that if I'm ever cleaning out my closet and then I like pull out of a box, I just instinctively like put them on. It's like, oh, this is kind of fun. And I'm just wearing these like plastic lensless nerd glasses for like the whole rest of the day until I forget about it. It's just it's a all human nature thing sometimes. You just sort of adopt these little objects and wear them around. And it's a very kid thing too. Like kids do that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And he collects things throughout the movie too. So
yep, all the
like
bits and
vacuum
bobs.
tube.
Yeah.
I love that. I like that he's not like this kid is so weird, but like he is kind of a weird little kid, but like in a realistic way, you know?
Yeah, I think he's a little weird kid. It was giving me like this is recent, but it was like giving me sort of Elio vibes where it's like he's a weird kid, but he's not like presented as like a horrifically weird child. You know what I mean? Like you can just kind of tell that like other kids don't get him, and that's the context for which he is weird. It's not that he's actually doing anything that's like off-putting or you know, a problem. Yeah, he collects things. He has a hyperfixation on kaiju, like relatable. He's mastered lucid dreaming, it seems like. Oh man, jealous.
That kid naps,
right?
I know, he's literally like, I'm going to go to sleep and return to the dream where I left it off. I'm like, I wish, man, come on.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just actually astral projecting. Maybe maybe he's got a superpower.
Yeah. Look, it's like unclear if Godzilla is fictional or not in this world. It could be that he's fictional, or it could be that this just takes place in Godzilla's universe and the kid's a fan of the real monsters and Real Monster Island. Who knows? Not clear.
That is a good point, because I sort of just have been thinking about this because I think it's cool to think, like I personally am interested in thinking about it in the way that it's all fiction. But the movie, I think you can very easily walk away from this just being like, at the end of the movie, when they're talking, when he's talking to the reporters, the neighbors talking to the reporters, it's not like they like negate the possibility of monsters being real, because I don't think the movie is negating the possibility of like people's belief in gods as unreal. Like that's the equation they're making, you know? So so yeah, I mean, I don't think that this can't exist in the world of Godzilla at all.
Yeah.
Tangentially related. I also like that part of his dream, it's not like he falls into like a portal or something to go to Monster Island. He literally boards Pan America.
Oh my God, that's right. I'm so glad you
with no pilot. Yeah.
It's so weird. It's so funny.
I know that this is people's real life experience, but I did not have this experience. And so I only ever saw it in TV shows and movies. I will forever find it so fantastical when children ride planes by themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I know it's a real thing that happens, but it just feels like fantasy to me.
Yeah. And I don't know. He seemed to like enjoy the experience, or like it was totally fine. Like, I don't, that would give me a lot of anxiety as a child. Like, I don't know if that was like a thing I wanted to do, like as the experience, you know?
Yeah. The whole framing of that whole sequence is odd because like it's the beginning and he's like excited to be going to Monster Island on a Pan America flight. But then like in a really eerie way, all the people disappear. And like, yeah, like you said, Vicki, there's like no pilot, but he's not really that bothered by it. He's just sort of like magical plane going to Monster Island in my dream. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like
it feels very dreamy, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
but also that's
change.
like I've had literal nightmares like that are scary.
Yeah.
So it's funny that he's not bothered by that at all. He doesn't have that anxiety dream that I have all the time where I'm in a car in the back seat and the car is just driving on its own somewhere.
No.
So have that dream all the time.
Oh no.
I mean, this kid's pretty fearless. Not entirely, but like pretty fearless.
That's true. Yeah. Even before he learns how to fight from Minya, he's already planning to like drop the robbers in a hole. Like, so yeah. I do like how I almost wish they did it more. I like how they sort of utilize things that he saw in the Godzilla fights, like to then fight back against the bullies with it. Like, I think that's really, really clever and really effectively done. And it's like satisfying and like cathartic when it happens. It's just like, yeah, like get him, kid. Like using the fire extinguisher like it's atomic breath. Like that stuff rules.
I think it's smart. I think it's what you should do with this story, you know? I think it would be weird for them to have them be totally disconnected, but I can totally see that happening.
Yeah.
I was going to say, speaking of lessons, like speaking of him learning stuff from the island.
Before we get to that, I have one thing I wanted to ask you all, because I'm just so curious. What are your feelings on his neighbor, the toy guy, Shinpei? Because it's such an odd character to have in this movie because he's so quirky and weird, but like doesn't really have that much of a role in it.
I think he just is kind of there to... for two reasons. One, I think like in the universe, I think it is comforting for an audience to know that there isn't literally no one around. But I think for the purpose of sort of like the themes, I think it is also important to illustrate that like this kid really doesn't connect with other kids. Like he has the one friend, and aside from her, and maybe even including her, like his best friend really is like this adult neighbor.
I liked that he encouraged Ichiro. Like instead of shutting him down when he started talking about kaiju or, you know, this and that, he like listened and asked questions. And I think that's a good lesson for kids too. Like it's okay to share these things that you're interested in with adults, even if it's not like, maybe it's your parent, but maybe it's, you know, this other person that's invested in what you like.
I think it's a good lesson for the adults watching too.
Yeah.
It's okay to listen and ask questions.
Yeah. And don't just dismiss. Yeah.
His toys are odd. I'm still baffled by that one glove that crawls on its own and like screams, help me.
Is it just supposed to be like, haha, funny prank? Like, what is that?
I don't. And the cops are just like, oh, that's so funny. And I'm like, what are you laughing at? That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like you two should be concerned. Yeah, that was weird.
Really weird. Really weird. Yeah. But yeah. And odd character, but I agree with you. I think it's an interesting. I actually do think I agree with you that it's a important sort of role to include in this. Yeah. Anyway, Doug, you had a beautiful segue that I absolutely fucking wrecked.
Yeah, I
the
mean,
lesson at the end of the movie.
I think I mean, the fact that they do the parallels between the things that he's dreaming about on Monster Island and then the things that he does in the real world, I think makes it hard to ignore. I mean, it would be hard to ignore anyway, but makes it particularly hard to ignore the end of the movie and how Ishirō stands up to his bullies and his final act in the movie, which I find completely confounding.
Yeah.
Baffling.
Disappointing. I was disappointed.
Yeah, because there's two things there, right? Like, one is the fact that he literally fights his bullies. I think there would have been a better way to depict that, because I think it would have made a little bit more sense, and I think could have been a stronger lesson if the bullies kind of initiated that and he just stood up for himself and fought back.
Correct.
As opposed to being the one who just like charges the bully and tackles him. But that in general is like not my bigger problem, because I think you can have a conversation about that. And I think you're right, Derek. I tend to agree with you that like the pendulum swung in a direction where it was like, maybe we just need to understand our bullies and give them a chance. And they're humans who are just hurting. And it's like, those things can be true, and they can also not be an asshole and punch you. So like sometimes you actually need to just like be hard back to them, given, you know, circumstances, and there's nuance to that and all that. But the lesson can't just be to like, let the bully do whatever they want. What's really confusing to me is that the movie starts with the bullies trying to convince him to do this thing that he thinks is like a mean thing to do. And then after he stands up to his bullies, he then does that thing and they like him for it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they did that.
I don't.
Other than it's like silly kid antics. Like, I think we're supposed to laugh, but it's really confusing. Vicky, what do you think?
Oh,
You're going to be the one who has to have this conversation.
Yeah, I was like horrified. Like, that's not the takeaway. Like, why would you do that? And then to like,
Vicky hit stop before that moment.
Yeah. No, I was very irritated, because I think yes, to what you were saying, Doug, like, I think it is fine, air quotes, you know, like there was some resolution with the bully. And then like, sometimes in those situations you do like not become friends, but it's a neutral zone. Like, you can be around those kids who maybe weren't your friends at the beginning, but then to like join in on what they want to be doing and become essentially your own bully, like that's not what we're doing here. That's not who Minya is. That's not, you know. So I did not like it. And then he like ran, and his dad, he was like, "Oh, Dad, like it's all good. Take care of it for me." And then he runs off. You know, like
yeah. It comes across as what Ichiro needed to do the whole time was to gain the bully's respect, and he did that. And I don't think that's what they were trying. I hope that's not what they were trying to communicate, and I don't think that's what they should have been communicating.
Yeah, and that's not what Minya did. All Minya did was like, Minya basically stood up to his bully, and then is like, now I'm gonna fuck my bully up, and now my dad's gonna fuck my bully up, and this kid deserves it, and he sucks,
right?
And then gets him to leave, which, you know, some bullies I think maybe deserve that in real life,
right? But Gabara isn't sitting there like, "Great job, kid. Now I have respect for you because you can fight." Like that's
right.
Yeah,
exactly. It's really weird. No, I don't get it either. And it's like the painter, it's not like the painter was being mean to him. He didn't do anything. He's an innocent victim.
Right. They don't even establish him.
Yeah,
they don't even establish him as like a nasty person.
No.
Yeah. He just assaults this painter, basically. It's also weird too. Like, you know, obviously the parents in Ichiro's life are, you know, the parents being like in Ichiro's life, but also not in Ichiro's life is a big part of the story. The last time you see his mom, it's like her crying and apologizing. The last time you see his dad, it's like the dad dealing with the consequences of the painter in this prank that Ichiro is fully responsible for. Like, those two things don't line up either. I'm sort of like, well, what are they saying about the roles of this kid's parents?
I think it's kind of clear that they're saying the mom should have been around more and the dad can just sort of clean up.
Yeah. I don't like that.
I think that's what it is. Am I wrong?
I think you're right. Oh man.
I mean, the sad reality is like, that's what people would have, like, if you were like interpreting in bad faith, what you are seeing is that more women are going to work, and therefore there are latchkey kids. And that's not actually what the situation is. And so whether it was intentionally done this way or not, I am not at all surprised to see that the result is that the mom is made to feel bad that she is not around enough because she is working more. And the dad is not forced to reflect on that at all, because of course the dad is going to continue working. His way of contributing more is to just, I guess, apologize for his child.
Yeah. And he says he's going to like pay the laundry bill for the painter. So now Ichiro's costing more money for his family that's already like tightened financially enough to have both parents working 2 jobs. So now his parents are just going to be working even more now. So yeah, that ending sucks.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
Did I read? I think I read that in either the Japanese or the U.S. release, like one of them stopped with the mom crying and Ichiro leaving.
Oh,
like,
really?
That was. Yes, I think is that true? Am I remembering correctly?
You're right. I don't remember. I think it
and I don't remember which way. I just remember reading it was cut at some point for one audience.
It's weird because like I don't like the ending.
Yeah.
But if it turns out that like when it came to the United States, they just like chopped off the ending, I also would feel not good about that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I don't think it's the American cut. I think it's something else. But I read the same thing you read, Vicky. There is definitely some cut that exists out there like it.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure what that is. So
I mean, it would be a relatively easy well, I mean, there's a ton of stock footage, so actually it wouldn't be the easiest thing. I was going to say if they needed to cut for time on TV, like it wouldn't be the worst thing to cut out of the movie, but there are way better, easier things to cut out of this movie for time.
Yeah, like I still don't think that would gives me the resolution or like bow tie on it.
It doesn't fix it; it sweeps it. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Weird ending.
Weird ending.
Hey, Derek from the future here. I wanted to add that Vicky was right. There is another edit of this movie that does end on the mother crying. But basically the reason that either of us could figure out what it was from is because it's not a cut that either of us would have ever watched. So apparently Toho in the 1980s had released like a VHS set of a handful of Godzilla movies, but like very heavily re-edited and condensed down. I think they were like edited specifically to like 10-minute digest versions at a time. Honda edited them together, apparently. This is all coming from David Kalat's Critical History of Godzilla book. But it's a VHS version that was released in the 80s that exists, and that version of the movie, that sort of re-edited, condensed version of it, for whatever reason, ends on Ichiro's mom crying, which is weird. But anyway, if you were, yelling at your podcast player because you knew that information, you don't have to write the email now because I figured it out. So back to the episode.
Overall, I like enjoy this movie. Good. And I know I just think context matters. And we have 40 Godzilla movies at this point. Like you just can't measure them all the same way. And I know like what Derek and I tend to try to do anytime we're podcasting is to figure out what the movie is measuring itself up against and then use that measurement. Yeah. And I think that becomes easier and easier when you have a franchise like Godzilla, where it's like, it's very obvious not every movie is trying to do the same thing. So I don't think it's a great approach for folks to try to measure every Godzilla movie with the same metrics. And I think the metric that this one's trying to measure itself by is pretty fucking clear. And I think it generally meets its metrics. Yeah. So I'm willing to go to bat for this one.
Yay!
Not as necessarily fun. My favorite, but I don't know that I would ever say it's my least favorite. Like, I think it's a valuable movie, and it makes a lot of sense to me.
It's really interesting, fascinating. That like March of the Monsters song that plays at the beginning of the movie.
That hits.
I love it.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so fun. Yeah. This movie offers a lot of really fun stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. For example, it inspired some really cool cover art this time.
Ooh. Yeah. Vicky, you get a sneak peek here.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So this art was done by Dave Davenport, aka Dogs Punk of Tanix Comics. He offered to do this because he really, really wanted to draw Gabara, is what he told me.
Oh man. Oh,
this
I didn't
rules.
I didn't think Gabara could like look any cooler, but like this is hell yeah.
It captures the right vibe as like just kind of a little, not a little shit, like a teenage shit, you know?
Yeah.
The expressions on Ichiro and Minya are fantastic too.
Yeah, it's basically Kibara like smoking a cigar with a like a flat cap on, like from like an old like 50s or 60s movie of like the punk bully kid who's a bad influence, and it's like, oh my god, he's smoking. And,
like probably, a delinquent.
A delinquent, exactly, like a little delinquent asshole. I know that he had talked about when he was doing Dave talked about when he was looking up for references for writing for making this. He was talking about how he was thinking that maybe he was designed to look like Butch, the bully from the Little Rascals, and he had a comparison to the two. And it is like a kid with like kind of a stink face, you know, that it seems like. He also, when he sent this over, he told me in the email he sent it in, he said, I was a latchkey kid and used my imagination to deal with the bullies in my life. So this is probably the most personally relatable kaiju film I've seen.
Oh my goodness, yes.
How could you hate this movie?
I know. My goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That looks so good.
It's fun. It's such a great inspired piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to see that, we put the uncut version of the art with no text on it on glitterjaw.com. So check out glitterjaw.com/Skrionk. You can see the whole gallery of all the cover art for all of our episodes. But also, if you have cover art showing on your podcast app, just look at it right here. It looks great. Or follow us on our Glitterjaw social media and you'll see it there. And also follow Dave at Dogs Punk. I'll link to all of his stuff in the show notes as well. But his art rocks. Now, next up, got to announce the schedule for the next couple of months. Woo. So there's like a light accidental kind of theme that came up.
Ooh, I love an accidental theme.
Yeah. It doesn't fit every single movie. I'm just going to give the schedule for the next 2 months. It's still going to be 4 movies. It's going to be 2 movies a month for the next couple months. It's not every single movie falls into this. And I think it'll be pretty obvious which one maybe doesn't from the names alone. But the general theme is space.
Beautiful.
Ooh.
On August 13th, we've got 1957's The Mysterians.
Ooh, finally. I've been waiting. I've been resisting because I knew we were going to do this one.
Yes. Then on August 27th, we're going back to the Heisei era with Godzilla versus Space Godzilla.
Finally! Space Godzilla is one of those things I'm aware of, but don't know anything about. And so there is an image of a monster that comes up every time I see Space Godzilla, and I don't know if it is Godzilla. I don't know if it is a Space Godzilla, a Godzilla from space. Like, I don't know what it is, and I never look more into it because I know we'll get to it eventually, and now we're finally getting to it.
Yep. And then on September 13th, this almost didn't make it onto the schedule.
Ooh.
Space Amoeba from 1970.
Another one I've been excited to watch.
Yeah. And then we'll follow that up at the end of September on September 27th with Godzilla Tokyo SOS from 2003, the Millennium Era film.
Oh, This is a big one, right? This is like a thing?
I wouldn't call it.
Or am I thinking of something else?
I think you're thinking of like big team up movie type things or fan service movie things.
I know what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of something else. I know what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. No, this is, I mean,
I actually don't know anything about Tokyo SOS now. I'm realizing.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out in September. So, yeah. So with all of those things in mind, predictions. So for the Showa era, where we're at right now, obviously there's still a handful of movies after this one. This is obviously an interesting swerve for the Godzilla franchise. What do you think, like the vibe of this movie, something that's for kids using a lot of stock footage? Do you think that's going to continue into the next film? And would you like me to tell you what the next film is or not?
You can tell me what the next film is.
The next film's Godzilla versus Hedorah.
I would not expect, and this is purely on reputation alone, because I only know what Hedorah looks like, and I don't know anything else about that movie. But on reputation alone, I do not expect that what we just watched with All Monsters Attack is the vibe they continue forward even into the next movie. I would guess that Hedorah wouldn't be as beloved as it sounds like it is if it were very, very similar to this one.
Cool. Makes sense.
I could be wrong.
We could be wrong, but who knows? We'll find out. I think that'll be in October that we're doing that movie. So
cool.
we got a couple months where we get to Hedorah. Now, as for Minya, since we obviously had a whole spotlight on him.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to see Minya again? And if so, how long before we see him again? In the Showa era specifically. I know, whole can of worms for other eras, but for Showa era specifically, do you think we're going to see him again? And if so, when?
Yeah, the can of worms is interesting because we have seen Baby Godzilla, which is not the same thing, but is like spiritually kind of the same thing. I don't know. That's odd because I do think All Monsters Attack feels like it is a unique entry in the series in that it is not just sort of like, it feels like a natural progression in like a media franchise. It doesn't necessarily feel like a narratively natural progression. And so I don't know how much further we see Minya, but I would be surprised if we didn't see it again. How many movies do we have left in the era? Because I know that I was asked at one point, I think it was after Destroy All Monsters, if Ishirō Honda would return, and I think I said twice, so I've already got one down. I also realized at some point I called him Ichiro Honda because of the movie we were talking about. But
Ichiro Honda. That's funny.
Oops.
This was movie 10, so we have 5 movies left of the show.
Okay. Era. Yeah, Minya will be back at some point. I don't know that Minya will be back right away. That's my prediction.
Cool. Okay. Do you think he's going to talk ever again?
I think this probably would have been the unique scenario, although the continuity is not necessarily important here. So if people really loved him talking, maybe he'll talk again. But I'm going to say no.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to see Gabara in another movie?
The continuity question is interesting because if they really were like strict about it, and I know they're not,
doesn't exist.
Right, Gabara wouldn't exist. But I think we'll see Gabara again at some point in some way, shape, or form. There were plenty of things I was not expecting to see again come Destroy All Monsters. So I have to, if Varen can return, Gabara can return.
Nice. Okay. Now for the actual next movie that we're covering on August 13th. The Mysterians. This is from 1957. Just the basic question, what do you know about this movie and why do you think we're watching it?
I don't know much of anything about this movie. I know that it has something to do with aliens or space, and I have resisted looking any further into it. I imagine that we're watching The Mysterians, a not Godzilla movie, because The Mysterians are in some way part of Space Godzilla. It feels like a logical, A to B situation.
Yeah.
There's like this fun little meta game we can play because if we're watching a movie that doesn't have Godzilla in it, there has to be a reason.
Right. Do you know?
But sometimes the reason is like there was a flashback or like this weapon got used. So
yeah. Well, what you don't think Gyra's like cameo in Godzilla versus Godzilla X Mechagodzilla was like important enough to include War of the Gargantuas? Do you know what the Mysterians are?
I don't know what the Mysterians are. I'm just assuming they're aliens because I think at some point I knew it was an alien movie because I feel like I was aware of the Mysterians just as an older sci-fi movie before, like well before this podcast. I just had never watched it.
Cool.
But I don't know.
Gotcha. Vicki, do you have any questions that you want to ask Doug, prediction-wise?
I just have one to kind of echo, because, I'm all about Minya Manila here. Do you think we're ever going to get a fully realized, fully grown-ass Manila ever?
So, okay, this is a good question, because when this came up with Baby Godzilla, like, I don't know if it happens, but I specifically was like, I want to see this Baby Godzilla grow up, particularly because of, like, the role that it played in its own movie. I think it would be fascinating to me to see what Manila grown up would be like, because I feel like it's easy for me to imagine Baby Godzilla grown up. That feels like an easy trajectory for me to imagine. This one feels a little bit harder. So I'm going to guess that we don't see Minya grown up and that Minya's character just is like the child Godzilla. That's going to be my prediction.
Cool.
And like that is the purpose that Minya serves.
Yeah. That was a very good question.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Vicki, thank you so much for joining us for this. I'm so glad we got to have you for this.
Oh, this was so good. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for including me.
Of course, of course. Is there anything that you would like to plug, or where people would like to find you, or anything like that?
No, I'm in hiding.
I love that for you.
My
honestly.
my own Minya keeps me pretty busy. So I'm not really on socials anymore. I'm every once in a while on Novel Gaming, maybe in the next month or two. So you can maybe find me there. But if you needed me, find Doug, and Doug will find me.
I love that. Yep. That's how this happened. So, thanks, Doug. Well, if you'd like to find other queer creators to talk about media, check out the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective at glitterjaw.com. Follow us on Blue Sky at Glitterjaw and Instagram at glitterjawpods. But Doug, people want to find you and everything you're doing, including Novel Gaming. Where can they do that?
Yeah, if you need to find me or Vicki, you can find me all over the place at Ickeybooley, ICKYBOOLEY. You can listen to me on the aforementioned Novel Gaming, where my friend Katie and sometimes Vicki and I catch up on our video games and books that we have been enjoying lately. You can also listen to me weekly on a show with Derek called Walloping Web Snappers, where we deep dive into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made. And also there is, I'm trying to remember everything, a show called Falling with Style, which sometimes we also do periodically now. It was a monthly Pixar movie marathon. We are caught up to Pixar. So if we are dropping something on the Falling with Style feed, it is because we have chosen to do a mini series. We did one all about identifying clear and unambiguous and unafraid queerness in animated family movies and television, because Pixar won't do that. So we wanted to show how it can be done, because obviously Pixar's listening. But that was really good, and we're really proud of that. And we've dropped a couple things on there recently related to some other animated movies that were a bit of a surprise. So I think I mentioned everything. I hope I didn't forget anything, because the other thing is Skrionk. So... What about you, Derek?
I think you got it. You can find me most places at Derek B. Gale. Other than the ones that Doug mentioned, I do have a couple of other podcasts. I have Gimmicks, where we look at high concept and experimental and structure-breaking gimmicky episodes of TV, and also Lee Carvalho's Potting Challenge, where we look at the Simpsons tie-in video games, as well as Simpsons history and pop culture history and video game history. All that stuff we mentioned is on glitterjaw.com, so check that out if you want to see everything that we're doing. Also, join our Patreon at patreon.com/walloping web snappers. That is, of course, the name of the Spider-Man podcast that Doug and I have, but that really supports everything that we do together, including Skrionk, and we do sometimes have Godzilla and kaiju related bonus episodes. So if you want more from us talking about kaiju stuff, that is the place to go. Check out our Discord as well. We've got a link to that in the show notes. If you want to chat with us and other listeners, email us at skrionkpodcast@gmail.com, and rate, review, and subscribe on all your podcast platforms. And join us on August 13th for 1957's science fiction film, The Mysterians.
I'm excited. See you then.
Go! Go! 1, 2, 3 3, 4, 5, 6 3, 4, 5, 6 7 8ギャー怪獣様のおとりだかっこよくなんでもぶっ飛ばせゴジラはほ